Can you start?
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Ready?
On. Hello and good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syed Munawar. I'm your host for today's forum. Yang berbahagia Professor Emeritus Tan Sri is also joining us. Tan Sri Zul Razak, Director of International Islamic Institute Malaysia. Fellow panelists and also our live viewers through YouTube. Assalamualaikum once again and welcome to today's forum. And the topic of today's forum is Vadis University Ranking organized by IUM. And this is, I was told, one part of a forum series to be organized in times to come. The issue of university ranking is not new. We have been talking about it for so long. And now we are making an effort trying to rediscover the relevance of ranking. And at the outset of ranking, the idea was to set a standard in telling apart quality of a particular university from another. It is now becoming common that we know whenever we are discussing about universities and the trajectory of higher education, it is in the same breath as industrial need. There is a direct correlation between education master plan and also the need of the industry, so much so that education has someone turned into a kind of commodity that foretells the price tag of each and every graduates. And of course, universities reacted upon the need of the university as well to such a great degree that it is becoming tactical on getting into better ranks. Hence, there were critics of intellectual dishonesty when it comes to ranking. Were there no manipulations involved in providing good numbers to the rating agency? I think the academic world is divided into those who are pro-ranking as opposed to those who are against it. And very seldom we hear opinions in the middle ground as if there is any, or perhaps maybe majority would rather just keep quiet and do their own thing. But why is it even important for us to discuss about ranking? And again, today, I'm sure that what needs to be said has already been said. And we have heard and seen arguments from both divides, but there are at least two areas that are worthy of some debate. Number one, it is about the new normal thing that we are now facing. What is the role of higher education when we encounter an unprecedented reality? Our education has been so entrenched into being a feeder to the industry, but now industry itself is almost at a standstill for more than 20 months. We are now facing more and more unemployment among fresh graduates, not to mention retrenchments among those who are already in the job market. And not to mention how technology has changed the landscape of the way how we do things. More and more jobs are becoming obsolete and irrelevant, while university are now, it seems like university are very slow at coping with these new rapid changing realities. So much so that some companies are now looking at professional certificates rather than a full degree to fill in a vacancy. Plus, this new reality also brings in the question of the economics of education. Can universities stay afloat when enrollment is in record low? What's the new model for sustainability for universities? Looking at this apparent situation in the context of ranking, are all these questions even matter? How does ranking help university in trying to find their way through this turbulent time, or perhaps to relate the locality to extend their raison d'etre for the locality where they are operating? And if we all allow ourselves to go deeper and ask the utmost fundamental question of the big why do we have universities in the first place? What about nation building, albeit in turbulent times of COVID-19? Is there even a need for ranking? These are perhaps the new perspectives that we need to deal with. So before us, we have four prominent young, I would say high-flying academics whom each and every one of them has impressive background. And I think it is maybe on their shoulders of these four panelists, among others, that we rely or hope for the future, especially in the future of our higher education. I would like to introduce our first speaker is Dr. Chang Da Wan. Hello, Dr. Chang Da.
Hello.
Yeah, how are you?
Just call me Chang Da, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Chang Da. You're much younger than me, then perhaps maybe it fits the decorum for me to address you as Chang Da. Dr. Chang Da is Director of the National Higher Education Research Institute of USM. He holds a PhD from the University of Oxford, and he was trained as an economist at University of Malaya and also NUS. He has interest in higher education policy and development in Global South, and Dr. Chang Da is an exco of the Malaysian Society of Higher Education Policy and Research, Development, also known as Pendapat. That's the acronym. And Dr. Changda is also a member of the Global Young Academy. Thank you very much, Dr. Changda, for making yourself available in our forum today. Our second speaker is Professor Engineer Dr. Danny K.S. Ng. Hello, Professor Danny.
Hi, nice to meet everyone here.
Yep, thank you very much for joining us. Prof. Danny is currently the Associate Head of School of Engineering and Physical Sciences at Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia. He holds a bachelor's in engineering, chemical engineering from UTM, and a PhD from University of Nottingham, Malaysia. And Prof. Danny has already published more than 200 papers with high index of 38 in areas of optimization of sustainable value chain of palm oil industry, energy management. And I think I'll be sharing, as I said, all of these four panelists, they have very impressive resumes, CVs, and maybe in the chat bot, I'll be sharing the full details. And I'm sure Prof. Danny will be able to, since he has his hands also in the industry, so it's a good balance of the academics and also the industrial experiences. Thank you very much, Professor. Our third speaker is Professor Madya Dr. Gary Tan Wei Han. Hello, Dr. Gary. Can we test the sound? Unmute. Can you please unmute yourself, Dr. Gary?
Hi, Syed. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us again. Dr. Gary is from UCSI University, and Dr. Gary is the world 10 most productive and influential authors in mobile commerce and applications for 3 consecutive years since the year of 2017. He is also the recipient of the Outstanding Reviewer Award for 2019 by Internet Research Emerald. And his article in Elsevier is the most downloaded international journal of information and management technology in society for the year of 2020. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, there are numerous other awards and acknowledgement from various parties. So thank you very much, Dr. Gary, for joining us. And last but not least, our fourth speaker is Professor Madya Dr. Mimi Hassan. Dr. Mimi, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon and salam sejahtera to all who are joining our sharing session today.
Yeah, of course. Terima kasih banyak. Prof. Madya Dr. Mimi Hashim is Associate Professor in the Department of Chemical Engineering, UTM. She's a professional engineer with the Board of a Chartered Engineer with the Institution of Chemical Engineers UK. And she studied chemical engineering in UTM, master's degree in Loughborough and PhD in Helsinki University of Technology, Finland. Both in the area of occupational health and industry hygiene. She represented Malaysia in ASEAN-Finland research meeting in Helsinki in the year of 2018. And I think she'll be sharing her insight with us on how Finland education works, because as we all know, Finland's education is regarded as perhaps the best education model. Only to know, when I was with one of the GLCs in the Ministry of Education, I got to know that in the year of 2019, Finland declared that their model is becoming obsolete and they're coming up with a new model. So I think Dr. Mimi will be sharing more of this when we started having our conversation. And the medium of this forum is both Malay and English. That is to promote greater engagement among participants. Jadi nanti kalau ada anda ingin bertanyakan soalan ataupun perkongsian pandangan di dalam bahasa Melayu juga, silakan, tidak ada masalah. Selalu saja kami bergurau, myself and Dr. Zainal, the director of Sejahtera Center, we use this term, as we call it, campurization. So long as it's not roja, and it's allowable. So as long as we understand each other. Okay. So now mungkin boleh kita mulakan. Maybe I would like to start with Dr. Changda. I'm sure there is good side and as well as the bad side of ranking. So how do you weigh in on these two extremes, Dr. Chandra?
Right. Thank you, Jisai. I think thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me just share a personal experience as someone who works on higher education. Ranking is a topic that I cannot run away from. But let me begin with how my first encounter with ranking. I was the batch of students who graduated when UM celebrated its inaugural ranking as the top 100 university in the world, right? At that time, it was a big celebration in UM. I think Gary was with me. Together, we graduated from the same convocation, the 100th anniversary, and also coinciding with UM being in the top 100 of the Times, the first Times higher education ranking. As I recall that, and as subsequently I went on to a university down south who is ranked top 20 in the world. 2 years later, I was in Singapore, in this top 20 university. We all know NUS is ranked among the top 20 universities. And I begin to reflect on my own experience as a student in UM, and contrast that with my experience as a student in NUS. In UM days, this was the pre-ranking days. This was the days when I was a student. The ranking was nowhere to be seen. I have lecturers who were very genuine in wanting to support me. And I remember having failed one of the assignment. I went and knocked on the lecturer's door and said, can I ask for an explanation on this? And the lecturer said, okay, I'm going for my tea. Can you come down and sit? And we went down to the cafe, sat down there over a cup of teh tarik, and he was going line by line, explaining why he failed my assignment. And that was the most precious lesson I've learned in my 3 years in UM. And contrast that to when I went to NUS and doing a master's in the same discipline, in the same degree. I have lecturers telling me literally in my face and all other students, please don't come and knock on my door and ask me any questions. All right, if you have questions, come back next week. This 3 hours is for you. Nothing else after this 3 hours, because everything after this 3 hours is my research time. And don't come and disturb me. I have to do my research. I have to go and publish in all these bits. And as I was also reflecting on the economics knowledge that I was engaging with in both in UM and also in NUS. This is a top 20 university in the world. People are talking economics that I don't understand what they're talking about. They're talking mathematical terms. It's so abstract. Nobody understands. I sat through the whole class without partly clueless of what is happening, because everyone was talking about how elegant this mathematical model is, and this is in a top tier journal, and it makes all no sense to me. And that reflects my own experience and say, look, is the ranking trustable? Is the ranking a good number to show quality of from a student's perspective, and also from the perspective of a layman on the street in terms of the kind of knowledge that the university is talking, right? In UM, during my days, we have people like many eminent professors talking about a lot of issues like poverty, development. There was discussion as a student. You was exposed to all this. But going to NUS, and this is like the top 20 university as compared to the top 100. The top 100 was not because it was a miscalculation. The following year we dropped down to top 200 because people like me and Gary were considered international students. That's how it will end up. So it was that begins to ask that I begin to ask that question even before I go into the field of higher education. Is the ranking a good indicator, and can that number be trustable to reflect that experience? And how do we arrive at a number to say NUS is top 20 and UM is in the top 200? But my experience as a student, I have to say, and UM is 10 times better than NUS. So I begin with that.
Yes, I will just reiterate. And forward the same question to Professor Denny, because it seems like Prof. Denny has a good balance of both the academics world and as well the industry need. So that was the question posed to Dr. Denny. Does it even matter ranking based on the experience of Dr. Shamda?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Ai, for the questions. I probably need to do a bit of reflection as well on how I've been through in the industry and all this academic world that I have involved. I believe ranking is just a number. whether it represents quality is still debatable. Although I might offend the other group of the people that go, oh, ranking is important, ranking is represents the quality. Into some sense, I will agree. But it does matter, like the question that you asked. In the industry, if I'm talking on behalf of the industry based on my experience with them, yeah, if you are Oxford graduate, if you are Cambridge graduate, top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the world, probably I will look a little differently. But then if you still go back into your job attitude, when I hired my students or hired employees, my first thing is, yeah, you can come from the best university in the world, but if you doesn't perform, it should be as an engineer, because I'm an engineer. You should do a job as an engineer. You can't perform even a calculation as an engineer. I really don't care where you graduated from. Same goes to myself. I come from the UTM. At that time when I was a UTM graduate, I think maybe you know, we are not ranked. Nobody talk about ranking in the world. No one. We are the best engineering school, I would say, in the country at that time, because we are the largest engineering school in the entire Malaysia, because UTM is meant for developed engineering. They don't have a medical school. They don't have others. They're really engineering. One faculty is larger than my university now. I can say that proudly. So UTM has one bigger faculty than my school, my entire university population. But is this matter when I first graduated UTM? People don't really care. Really looking at your attitude, looking at how you perform. And most likely it's really looking at your fundamentals strong. Are you knowing what you need to do? Are you preparing for yourself to be hired in the engineering field, in the industry in the future? Ranking is only applicable when come to postgraduate. Maybe they might represent some of the idea where how good the research is, like what Chanda has mentioned just now. It gives you some indications on the quality, or not really quality, but also the instrument, the diversifications of the university. But not too much on the undergraduate, because undergraduate, I would say, regardless, I went to Oxford. I have friends teaching in Oxford. Both of us looking at the course content is the same. Both of us looking course, the cross subject or the project that we are doing is about the same. I would say similar standards. I lectured in Nottingham before, in UK even. I flew there and then I come back in Malaysia because I was because they need some help in the other campuses, which I flew there and then I teach. To me, the standards of the students is quite same. Doesn't matter from which campus you are and so forth. In Harvard now, we are talking about global connected university. All of us are teaching on the same cohort. All our students are sitting in the same class, especially now because of COVID. It gives the benefits of all of us sitting in the same class. The lectures covering from the different. So it's really looking at the students' experience. I would say it's limited same. The quality is really depends on the individual when they are ready or not. The attitude is important. There are a lot of debates about talking about students' attitude nowadays. I can see the students now a lot of issues that because they are not really prepared. They doesn't go through the hard time that we used to be. Now they abolish all the exams, so they are not really prepared to the examinations and so on and so forth. So, but we also look at how they experience. So, like I said, in the industry, when you look at the ranking, yes, I will pay a bit of attention if you are top 10 in the world, probably. But after that, I don't think any industry will willingly pay exceptionally extra because of your first degree where you graduated from. Yeah, that's my view on that.
Well, at least Dr. Gary, at least Dr. Danny mentioned that perhaps maybe at the postgraduate level, then ranking will be more meaningful as compared to the undergraduate. What's your take on that? You please unmute, Dr. Gary.
Okay, sorry. I do agree with what Prof. Danny said, especially for postgraduate school, right? Research reflects the strength of your university. So if, let's say, for example, your university is famous for a certain field, let's say, for example, mobile commerce, you tend to attract a number of international students. Okay, and I also notice, okay, especially in private universities, ranking actually plays a very, very big role. You do attract not only in terms of numbers of students, but also in terms of faculty academicians as well. If your university is ranked quite good in the ranking, you do attract very talented academicians to actually join your school. So my take is very simple. I do agree with what Prof. Danny said. Maybe in the undergraduate level, I still feel that like what Chanda said, ranking may not exactly play a very important role, because at the end of the day, the quality of teaching is still very, very much more important. Yeah. But yeah, I do agree again with what Prof. Danny said. For postgraduate, yes, it does matter in a way. Yeah. But then again, because of all this ranking, it also put a lot of constraints to many academicians, because they have to sacrifice something for research. So that sacrifice, it could be in terms of your teaching quality. Yeah, I do agree with what Dr. Wan said, that some lecturers I will not know whether the word is selfish, but they rather spend more time doing their research because it's part of their KPI. So the university set a certain criteria. Like for example, this year, I want to hit top how many in the world, and that translates to how many publications per academician. And for an academician, is publish or perish. You don't do it, then that is going to be reflected in your appraisal. So they tend to sacrifice their teaching, in terms of really putting in effort to guide the students. So that is, to me, that is really one big disadvantage.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Mimi, having heard all our three gentlemen, and you have a better insight on what's happening there in Finland, maybe you can do compare and contrast. How do they go about in deciding quality at the higher education level? You have to also unmute, Prof. Dr. Mimi.
Sorry, thank you for the reminder. So thank you so much to Mr. Syed. So I'm not in the position of talking about, what's happening in here, because I think that's been clearly explained by our three gentlemen before. So maybe I'm sharing my point of view, experiencing studying or living in Finland for 5 years, from 2005 until 2010. So when I was there, because at that time in our school, there's not only Malaysian, it's hardly to find even Asian, because kat sana campur tak apa kan, macam you katakan,
campurization.
Okay. Especially the undergraduate, memang you cannot find Asian at all, because they offer everything in Finnish, in Finnish language. So in this kind of, when you have this kind of university alone, this somehow indicate or tell you they just don't care about ranking. Sebab non-English speaking university memang hardly can go into the ranking, sebab you boleh attract orang sangat kan, compared to macam Harvard ke Stanford ke, itu lain kan. But they just don't care, they just do their own thing. Macam they have their own confidence, yang I don't know where they get that kind of confidence. They know where they are in the world, they just don't care. You nak recognize ke, you tak nak recognize ke, it doesn't matter. So when I was there, saya pergi tu because saya graduated, I got my masters in the UK, which really trained me. Tapi my rezeki tu because my supervisor was the chief editor of a very famous journal. Tapi dia dekat UK punya sistem, untuk you graduate in masters, you don't have to publish. Kalau you punya supervisor say okay, because I'm doing top program kan, mixed mode. So tapi saya masa tu bila saya baca a lot of journal paper kan untuk buat kita punya dissertation, kita sendiri ada rasa jealous kan inside. Wow, why I'm citing this guy punya paper, this professor punya paper, nama dia the whole world kenal. I want to be like that, because I want to make myself map in the area, in the work of my research area.
Okay.
My intention macam tu, my interest. So bila saya balik Malaysia without paper without journal paper masa master tu, sebab we are only given 1 year to finish our masters. Saya sendiri balik tulis dengan tangan, sebab itu zaman 2000, dah zaman I think I'm the oldest among these three gentlemen like I pemali. Okay, so,
I'm older.
You are exceptional. So masa tu I tulis, so I email to my supervisor tu dia betulkan using pen or pencil, dia mail it to me pakai stamp. I ingat lagi pakai stamp daripada UK. Datangkan sebab I baca, I study, that's how I got trained to write lah my first technical journal paper. Tapi masa tu dia cakap, Mimi, you dah grab pun, you dah dapat your scroll pun. Kenapa you nak tulis semua? Sebab nak tulis untuk high impact journal paper for the first time, tak pernah tulis pun sebelum ni. Memang teruk lah kan, memang berkali dia baiki. Tapi I kata I nak sebab I rasa rugi kan, I baca paper orang. So I rasa benda tu is always in my blood. Lepas tu I pergi Finland lagi teruk. Dekat Finland dia tak ada KPI, dia tak tahu, my supervisor tak tahu pun apa itu H-index. He doesn't know. He never heard of it. Lepas tu ranking pun mereka tak tahu apa. Ini back then lah. I'm talking about back then. Sekarang dah berubah dah. The game has changed. So masa tu tapi bila sekarang I check, I busybody sikit lah. I pergi tengok nama supervisor, wow, dia punya H-index sangat tinggi. Tapi dia kata, what is that? Dia macam tak tahu kan. So I rasa this kind of people, dia macam secluded in that North Pole part of the world.
North Pole
buat their own thing. Tapi regardless, saying that, actually in Finland, dia ada 5 million people je kan population. The number of publications of high impact journal papers per head of researcher adalah among the highest in the world. Without the ranking, without the KPI, without the requirement for you to stay in the university to keep on your position, tak ada. There's no such thing. Tapi the innovation and research tu is in their blood. I think memang maybe Finnish ni dia ada research punya blood lah, dia punya DNA tu kan, sebab dia tahu lah dia yang buat elevator kan, dia orang yang buat the LCD screen, the Nokia and so on lah. And they are the country with no resources, dia tak ada oil, dia tak ada gas, dia tak ada apa-apa kan, dia tak ada apa, jadi dia terpaksa rely pada human capital. Lepas tu tapi bila saya pergi di sana, kita tak, supervisor I tak pernah sebut, Mimi, you kena publish tau. Dia tak pernah sebut. So, tapi kita tahu Finland punya style, kalau you nak grad, you kena ada 5 minimum journal papers publish, bukan submitted, publish in high impact journal. So, itu kita anggap sendiri faham. Tak payah dia cakap apa-apa lah. Tapi my supervisor, sebab dia tak ada kepentingan on me, dia tak pernah ajar I cara submission of journal paper. So I'm the first author, I'm the corresponding author, I did everything. Dia macam okay lah, nak masuk nama I, okay, tak masuk tak apa. So I know kat sini kita tak boleh buat macam tu lah kan, kita we need that for kita kena masuk nama dengan student kita. Tapi benda tu ajar I macam mana, even after I graduate, I dah habis belajar 4.5 years, I dah habis my PhD lah masa tu, 4.5 years. Tapi I stayed another 6 months in Finland. I reveal the truth lah, sebab I masa tu bukan tak nak balik lah. Sebab
seronok sangat.
Bukan, I macam dah suka kan duduk sana. Lepas tu kat sana I punya research punya environment tu strong kan, I sayang nak lepaskan tu. I tahu kalau I balik, lepas tu I keep on writing my papers, another paper, tapi I dah grad. Lepas tu dia kata, Mimi, my supervisor kata, boleh tak you stop writing paper? Sebab dia tak larang nak check lagi. Dia penat kan, sebab dia tak mau nama dia kat situ without checking, dia jaga quality. He rather tak nak nama dia dalam paper tu kalau dia tak check. Tapi I mesti nak masukkan nama dia kan as a respect to my supervisor. So dia kata, you tak payah tulis paper lagi, you stop lah, you dah ada banyak dah, you balik lah.
So balik ya? Balik kampung lah.
Balik kampung, dia katakan.
Tapi masa tu tak ada COVID.
Dia ada news tu, dia masa tu datang pula. Tapi I kata tak boleh sebab saya macam jadi addicted kan. Benda tu dia saya dah jadi macam finish lah. Saya kalau tak suruh pun saya nak tulis. So saya fikir until now benda tu yang the finished paper has taught me lah. Bila saya fikir balik, saya tanya apa yang drove you? Dia kata they want to make themselves or the country known to the world. That's why historically in Finland, walaupun mereka cakap English sangat teruk, I'm telling you, kat sini tak ada orang Finland, so I okay lah. Tapi dia have trained to publish in journal paper from the earlier years, from the 1930s ke apa, always in English. Dia tak sama dengan Japanese and Chinese yang mainland. Mereka dulu awal-awal tulis in their own journal kan, dia punya local Japanese journal, China journal. Tapi dia always in English, walaupun dia speak English sangat teruk, tapi dia punya journal publication always in English. And they don't have even local journal pun dia orang tak ada. Dia memang always go to the international. Dan dia tak faham apa high impact, apa low, apa dia. Kalau dia publish, dia terus pergi pada high impact. So I rasa that is the culture yang memang sampai sekarang pun kalau orang cakap, you tak payah publish lagi, you cari, you pergi isi basket yang lain pula. Sebab kita kat sini ada banyak basket kan, 7 piece. kita kena go for supervision lah, for apa contract research lah. Tapi I kata tak apalah, because benda tu nobody can stop lah, sebab benda tu kita passion kan. So I think that's the thing I learned from them lah.
Listening to all four panelists at this juncture, I'm coming back to Dr. Changda. It seems like it all boils down to quality education, ranking or no ranking. If you're good, then you're good. I think in the case of Malaysia, if we were to put our discussion in Malaysian context, same like what Dr. Mimi mentioned, and also Dr. Changda, you mentioned that when you are doing your degree in you feel like that's the real education that you get, but it was not recognized globally. Jadi itu masalahnya di situ. Jadi dan hari ini kelihatannya seperti in our context, it seems like we are trapped, as if we have to follow ranking, whether at the undergraduate level or the postgraduate level. So it all boils down to policy issues. It's not so much about culture. If you have the right policy, then you can really drive the whole education to the level or to the areas that you actually put the aim at. Dr. Changda.
Yeah, betul. I deliberately wanted to start the story rolling because it comes back to a very important point, right? Is ranking in our university context is taken as if this is everything. So we have already debunked the first myth, is that it's got nothing to do with quality of education. I think Professor Danny and also Dr. Gary has rightly said it's more towards research, it's more towards a certain particular aspect of the university. And we need to be very clear on this, because when we go to the public, when kita wawarkan dalam surat khabar universiti kita antara yang terbaik di dunia, we have to be very careful apa yang baik, and we should not mislead our public on that front. So it's very clear. First thing is it got nothing to do with education or teaching and learning of undergraduate, and to a large extent even postgraduate.
So
I want to go on to that to lead to my second point is we need to first of all ask ourselves why the university exists. And I love this definition of a university. Let me just share my a very simple definition of what the university is. Right, a university is an institution that must be rooted in the society to which she has been entrusted to preserve, to understand, to advance, and to disseminate intellectual, scientific, and artistic knowledge across generations. And I want to highlight and emphasize two key concepts here about the university. One is there is a society mandate here. We're talking about a societal mandate, right? The university must exist to serve the interests of the Malaysian society for a Malaysian university. And the second component that makes us very different from the schools, for example, is the role of knowledge. And we have to be very careful. And I would like to then use this as a backdrop to go back and think about that question, ranking. What does it trying to tell us in relations to the university? Does it serve the purpose to address our understanding of what's the role of the university in the society and the role of the university in relations to knowledge of our society? And I wish to say that I'm not only a person who is very pessimistic on ranking. I think I would stretch that to argue that ranking is actually colonizing our university. Colonizing our university, and ranking is actually not the main culprit. Ranking is just the symptom we are seeing. The symptom that is killing and colonizing our university is what I call the ideology of neoliberalism. And this comes together with that whole issue of, I think we have also interchangeably talked about KPI. We have interchangeably talked about managerialism. Today, university is governed by KPI, not by the pursuit of knowledge, not by your role and your interaction with the society. And it's talking about the market. It's talking about commodizing education, commodizing research. And why I say it's a form of colonization, because we are letting external people, companies, for-profit companies out there, who come up with all this ranking, trying to sell the ranking, telling the university what is quality research.
Okay.
That is dangerous. Why do we need a Masaleh punya syarikat to come and tell the Malaysian university, oh, this is good research, this is bad research? Who are they to give us that connotation?
Right.
But the whole ideology of neoliberalism has paralyzed our system. We have not been able to see where we go and where we should, what we should be doing, how we should be, what kind of research we should be doing, how would we consider to be research of good. And I'll just end this with the point about a lot of times when we do research and we get published in this big international ranking, let's begin by asking ourselves, where do we get the money to do research? At least in my case, in a public university, I'm taking the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
All right. I'm taking the taxpayers' money. I do the research on Malaysia, for example, on any part of Malaysia, and the findings, when I go and publish in this this international index journal, I actually gave my copyright away.
Yeah.
And then the university has to pay a few thousand to money in terms of subscription for me to go and access the paper.
Yeah.
So the poor man on the street yang dia bayar cukai tu, cukai dia yang fund my research, dia kalau nak baca my article, dia tak boleh masuk. Dia kena bayar to the publisher.
Yeah.
So in the end, kita bayar, I bayar, I've done the research, I give away my copyright.
Right.
The university funds my research, the public funds my research, but the public can't read the thing. And the university has to double pay kali kedua untuk subscribe the journal again.
Yeah. Or originally local talent, and suddenly you have to pay for what our local talent has already provided to the world. Yeah, Dr. Gary, I can see that you are nodding and also smiling all the way while listening to you, Changda, just now. Maybe you would like to reflect on things which have already been mentioned by Changda and Dr. Mimi.
Okay, I do agree with what Changda says. Yeah, you know, when you talk about all this ranking is associated with numbers of metrics. Okay, like for example, you know, you talk about open access. So if you want your ranking of your university to go up, okay, your paper has to be citable. So one way for you to ensure that your paper is citable is to opt for open access. Okay, so the thing here is, I don't know how many of you are aware, you know, how much do you have to pay for an open access article? You know, it's almost what, 2,500 USD dollar. That comes to about 10,000 ringgit per paper. And again, I agree with what Changda said as well. Who wrote the paper in the first place? The author, us. At the end of the day, we are like buying back our copyright and we got to pay $10,000. And can you imagine if this $10,000, ringgit, you can channel this, you know, to improve our quality of our education, not just in our universities, maybe even in secondary schools and so on. How much changes can you make, you know, to improve, you know, our students? So to me, you know, if you want to play with ranking in the first place, you really got to spend money. And again, I don't know whether this type of money that you want to spend is it worthwhile for our taxpayers' money. Yeah, because at the end of the day, so what? Okay, so what if your ranking, you know, is like at this number, you know, and this number? Sometimes, if you look at the ranking, right, it's only one mark different. One mark different. The ranking can be like, you know, a gap between like 20 or 30 positions. So does it make a difference if you say that I come from a university which is, you know, 30 you know, is within the below top 30, while you're at the top, it's just only 1 or 2 marks different. So that's the only thing that we really got to think about it.
Coming from top 10 world most downloadable article written and published via Elsevier, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
Elsevier. So you yourself said that it's not it's not the kind of thing that we should be promoting. If I may, Dr. Mimi, you are raising your hand. Okay, nampak macam okay, tengah fikir tu ya. Prof Denny, at this juncture, it boils down to culture. I can see that Azizan also posted a question. We'll come back to Azizan's question in a bit. But at least all the 4 panelists today, we thought there'll be debate. Initially, there'll be debate. But at this juncture, it seems like we can make do without ranking. At least all the 4 panelists is agreeable on that score. So the issue here is about culture, and culture is being promoted through and via the KPIs which are developed by the ministry itself. If at least at the ministerial level, we can create a better culture that really promotes quality rather than looking and zeroing in at the KPIs and also all the ranking requirements, we can truly promote quality education, don't you think? And also the issue here is I think the burden is much more when it comes to public university as compared to the private university, since you're coming from Heriot Ward. What's your take on that?
Thanks for the question. I really like to answer this question. I come from a private university. I may not have the similar experience like Mimi or Chanda, where the public university have a very strict and rigid KPIs. I come from the university where they look at merit, and the culture is important. I would say it's really looking at the diversification on your work that you do. Go back to a bit on the topics that we discussed about ranking. I have been talking to a lot of people in the past as well in currently. Ranking shouldn't be something that you want to strategize. I mean, obviously, I do a mathematical optimization. I do modeling. I can simulate that. I can even predicting that if I do this is my outcome. But is that something that you want to do? Is that something that worth to do? I think that is the question to ourselves. There is a lot of people are talking about ranking is not so important. I think we have here this morning, this afternoon. But I think the challenge is ranking do give us certain criteria or some ideas that we want to go to, but we shouldn't, I would say the university shouldn't use it as a main criteria to set up the entire framework of the KPI for the staff. Hearing what they said about, okay, everyone should publish as X number, I think that is a ridiculous, which I doesn't agree. I always, when I set my KPI, I do have a KPI for my school, my entire school KPI. So let's say we want to publish 50 papers this year. I have 20 over staff. I will not say divide into individual, you get 2, everyone get 2. No, that's not the right way. We should work as a team. We should work together to deliver the strategic 50 together. Some staff might be good in teaching and learning because they really spend time, like they want to go to the cafe explaining. I think that is the value of education. We need to develop a university which able to provide that kind of environment for students, for researchers, and for the international recognitions. I think the publishing international paper is really getting an international recognitions. To ensure that we are in the same quality, we are not shocked. We used today when I was a kids, we always like the terminology. I'm not sure of you in my same era. We have a Juara Kampung. You don't want to call ourselves a Juara Kampung. You know, always love it ourselves. Yeah, you're the best Juara Kampung. You're the best in your kampung only, but you are not somewhere else. So to prove ourselves, we are actually better or we are equivalent to the world. We publish internationally. I think we get recognitions from international journals and so on. But until today, I never paid any single cents for any open access. Although sometimes I get some open access in my journal, it's all free. They want to invite me. I say, okay, I have no money to pay. I never pay. If you want me, either you give me FOC or I withdraw my paper. So one publisher, they say, Seni, you have to pay. Then I say, I withdraw my paper. I publish the paper. Because number one, I have no money. I have no grant to support me. University never pay the subscription. No pay for the open access. Because I think knowledge is something that we develop. Like I say, I think Chandra has mentioned it clearly. We write the paper. We have the ownership where we want to send to. Why must we go to you? There's no right or wrong answer that I publish. I particularly sometimes interested to publish in new journal that have no impact factor. Okay, people will laugh at me. Danny, you're stupid. Why lah? You got paper, you can go in the impact factor, get high impact, whatever. No, I say, when I start the new journal in future, I need support as well. If everyone's just chasing our impact factor, who is going to support me in the future? So if I become a chief editor in one new journal, they're starting, okay, maybe Malaysia, whatever journal. So no, zero submission. Why? Because you got no impact. No supporters. It's just like sometimes knowledge is a community that we work together. We support each other.
Right.
All this ranking is output of what you are doing good at.
Right.
If I actually challenge someone that when I was talking about this ranking long time ago, I say, some people are pro ranking. They say ranking is good, something like that. So okay, fine, that's good. But can you go to Oxford? Can you go to Cambridge? You ask the lecturer, do you care about ranking? Do you actually publish because of ranking? Do you do research because of ranking?
No.
Do you teach because of ranking? I says no. Do you care about ranking? No, it's always float 1 up, 2 down, 1, 2, 3. That's fine. They're just doing good research to get themselves there, and they will be recognized. I hear just now Dr. Mimi was mentioning, they just don't care and just do their work because they're passionate in research. They do good research. They get the research support. They get the funding. They grow their research, and then eventually they get cited automatically. You don't need to manipulate it, and then people will know. Because these group of researchers are doing very excellent research in a certain area, because you are well known with that. So that will slowly bring your citation up, bring your research group up. Everything will be grow simultaneously. That's why your ranking slowly will climb up. More importantly, I think in UK they actually have a REF. They call it REF. But REF is not how they measure impact of the society.
Right.
When you look at the measurement, it's not about how many papers you publish, not about how many high impact journal that you have in your university. They actually give you a case. You present a case to me that you contribute to the societal development. It can be no publication. Publication might be one of them, but majority they will say how many people that you have helped with this particular project. If they say I do decarbonization project, I actually help the entire Europe carbon or power sectors to reduce X amount of carbon emissions with this particular technology. Even you have no publication, I'm sure it will get a good REF ranking. And you see, REF is not about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like the numbers, because you want to be first, and then you squeeze 1 point, then you get the third, and then things like that. No, it's really about range. This is the good work that you have done. So we have recognized you in the 5-star and then 4-star.
Right.
I think those are the things that we look at. As I said, ranking is a measurement about your good work that you have done. Eventually, it gives you position yourself. Okay, if I will get about 3-star, what is the next thing I should do? Is there something that I can improve? Is there something that naturally my culture is not strong enough? Something that I have to do? Can I intervene? Not about getting more number out of it. It's really, is there something that we should promote collaboration? Is there something that we're missing? Maybe we should work more together with USM so that we can consolidate our whole work instead of everyone working in silos. I can hear a lot of stories about high-ranking universities. They never talk to each other, even their same area of work. Why? Because you might be hijacking my project, hijacking my KPI, hijacking my paper and whatever. Don't talk to each other. I think this is the culture that we don't want to grow.
Again, the idea, the argument of culture comes into place. At this juncture, at least, Dr. Mimi, we, all the 4 panelists, subliminally criticizing the system, because it seems like the system is the one thing that draw us into a line where we are becoming obsessive about ranking. I would like to bring our discussion to the level of institutional leadership, because this reminds me of one particular interview between myself. I was hosting it over the national television, and one of my panelists is actually Almarhum Prof. Unku Aziz himself. And we know that when you talk about prominent academics, then his name will always be on top. The topic we were supposed to discuss was about ranking, and he was the first speaker. When I asked him about ranking, he said that kenapa saya tak setuju dengan tajuk ini. We don't even need to discuss about ranking at that point of time, because ranking is nothing. And coming from UM, and he was he's synonymous with UM, and he himself said that we should not be discussing about ranking because quality doesn't come with the ranking itself. I think it was almost 20 years ago when we were discussing this over the national TV, and he it was very awkward situation because there were 3 panelists and he said that that topic is irrelevant. It did not to be discussed. And I have 2 more panelists who is pro ranking. Macam mana I need to handle this talk. It was very awkward at that time. What about institutional leadership? How do they position themselves when the system is as such, putting the KPI so that the whole system is moving towards ranking and promoting ranking, but you have to have some level of ability, keberanian, keupayaan. It's not easy for you to go against the system by simply being at the helm of one particular institution. How does it work in Finland if you were, since you've been spending some time over there? Dr. Mimi.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Said. Very nice introduction from you yourself. So before I discuss on that, I'm Dennis' best friend lah. We call it BFF lah. Saya pun macam dia juga, kita panggil we are like cheapskate researcher lah. Kita tak ada duit punya orang. Sebab kita tak buat eksperimen kan, nak dapat grant very difficult. So I also same like him. I never publish in a paid punya, tak pernah in my history of the 70 paper ke, tak ada satu sen Pak bayar untuk publish. Tapi I fikir macam Danny, macam now pun I dah tua kan, I tolong jurnal-jurnal yang lokal yang baru nak naik, walaupun kita sayang paper kita, because nak tulis paper tu tak senang. Tapi kita fikir tak apalah, one day kalau kita tak hantar pada dia, siapa nak kan. Tapi to get to that level, I have to say for us, kita hati kering lah. Me and Danny, kita ada that level of confidence, I just don't care. Tapi kalau kita kata boleh jadi out of the game betul. Sebab ini mainstream. You faham tak, Tuan Sai and kalau you terlampau against pun bahaya juga. You can be like out of the game kan. Tapi for me, I memang skema juga lah. I follow everything. Minimum I fulfill everything because I pun sayang my university semua kan. I mesti nak buat the best. Tapi at the same time, apa yang I suka, I taram saja. Sebab for me, dulu I pernah berbual dengan satu professor, big professor from NUS. You tahu lah, NUS and ranking tak boleh separated kan. Memang they are so into ranking. Tapi to the point sekarang dia dah terlampau mature. Mungkin mula-mula dia ada play game ke, kita tak tahulah, kita tak boleh komen. Tapi sekarang dia dah to that level yang pada dia punya ranking tu worth dengan dia punya quality lah. Kan dia tak play around lah. Apakah macam saya dengar masa saya mula-mula balik, oh rupanya you boleh main, you boleh play around with the H index. You cite your own paper, macam mana tak your kawan. I fikir, I pun tak pernah terfikir benda tu boleh buat. I kata ini shock sendiri kan, you cite your own paper, you tipu lah kan. So apa the pride of having high H index ke apa, tapi kalau you yourself manipulate kan, for me there's no pride in doing that. Janganlah kan, you jangan shock sendiri, jangan. I kata so kita biarlah make known to the world because of our own quality. Macam tadi Danny ada kata, Danny, we know our Professor Robin Smith kan, yang the very famous our textbook author. Siapa orang chemical engineering mesti kena Robin Smith. Tapi orang-orang macam ni hanya ada 1-2 je paper journal in their whole life. Tapi paper tu has been cited like more than 10,000. Tak ada orang yang dalam in the field tak pernah cite paper dia. So I kadang-kadang terfikir, macam sekarang pun I memang tak 1 tahun bukan nak cakap, me and Danny we are very active in producing paper sebab itu our passion. Tapi I have to admit my work, I have to make a bad confession here lah. My words back then when I was in Finland, itu yang make who I am today. People in the world know me because of that my 5 years work. Sebab my professor even satu conference paper, conference tau bukan journal, conference paper pun dia punya content macam 1 journal, 2-3 journal paper di sini yang I publish. Dia punya jaga quality tu. Kadang-kadang I pun fed up. Kenapa teruk sangat macam ni? It's just a conference. Tapi dia kata you responsible in what you are publishing to the world. Tapi betul lah benda tu, bila kita ada work process safety, dekat I'm from process safety conference dekat Belgium, I tak pergi masa tu, I tak ada duit. Masa tu dekat Finland lah, I suruh kawan I satu Malaysian pergi untuk wakil, untuk present untuk I my paper. The head journal punya editor masa tu of the process safety punya tu, dia pergi conference tu daripada Canada. Dia tanya, Mimi mana? Dia tanya, sebab dia kata nah, dalam list tu nama saya ada. I never met him, tapi dia kenal saya because my work has been published a lot kan dalam journal dia, chief editor. So I rasa terharu, I rasa betul lah, kalau you do the right things, benda tu yang kejar you. Ranking tu yang kejar you kan, you punya fame tu yang kejar you, you tak payah kejar dia. Macam, so my professor until now, walaupun dia dah retired, my supervisor in Finland, dia selalu kata, you tak boleh compare, especially dia kata, you tak boleh force something. Sometimes benda yang quality ni, dia come naturally. Kalau you ada passion, you pergi lab, malam pun tak boleh tidur teringat lab kan, because kita passionate kan, kita tetap publish walaupun supervisor kata tak payah publish lah, buat apa you nak publish kan, tapi kita tetap publish. Naturally the rank come to you, benda tu. Tapi kalau you force, there goes the perboncengan gratis lah, apa panggil sekarang, the leeching lah, you menompang lah, apa sebab benda tu kan sometimes you memang tak boleh cope kan, mungkin masa tak cukup ke apa kan, you punya research belum mature tapi you still have to publish, that goes all the bad things lah. So kita kalau boleh nak avoid tu lah. Dan tadi saya ada baca, dan tadi macam tadi dia kata ekonomi betul lah ya, macam macam Danny kata, kita macam being played by ourselves. Kita publish, kita do the thinking. So Malaysia ni bijak. I have to say Malaysia ni bijak because kita rajin. Kelebihan kita pula kalau banding dengan Scandinavia lah. Scandinavia very lebat. 3:30 petang dah balik. Main bola, main dengan anak kan. Kita
but they high productivity.
Tak tahulah dia 3:30 dah balik. Pagi
they work less but produce more.
Gimnastik, my professor is gimnastik tu. Macam nak tergelap bila I terbayangkan dia dengan gimnastik tu kan. Tapi that's how they enjoy life kan.
Right.
So, tapi kita sampai 8 malam masih duduk kat lab, seorang Asian kan. Kita Asian ada culture ni lah. So sebenarnya kita campur rajin, actually we can go further than them sebab dia orang bijak tapi dia pula lebat macam kita. Ada semak kita dan kita rajin tapi at the same time macam Danny kata at the end kita buy our own macam dekat sana mereka tak pernah publish in paid punya journal juga sebab dia 40% bukan 40 ni 40% of the tax punya money go to education in Finland. So, sebab itu sekolah dia semua sistem. Tapi mungkin orang kata, Allah dia 5 million population. Okay, kita tak compare on that lah. Tapi the total number of tax tu lah. Tapi that's why dia tak sanggup nak suruh the lecturer ke kita ni ataupun researcher pay back untuk cite our own paper balik, untuk baca dia takkan spend sebab dia terlampau integriti kan dengan duit rakyat tu. Jadi dia fikir 40% of duit tu dia akan bangunkan betul-betul education structure dia, infrastructure dia kan. Dia tak mungkin kata okay you bayar $5,000 to publish one paper. Itu baru satu researcher kat sana ada berapa researcher kan. That's a waste of resources. They won't do such thing lah. So I really hope our generation kita boleh go for ranking. So kalau tak ada ranking teruk sangat pula nanti you macam langsung hidup tak ada direction kan. Malaysia ni dia macam tu, you kena push baru you boleh. You tak boleh because it's not in our blood yet. As for now, I really hope one day benda ni akan jadi something macam kalau dalam safety kita panggil self-regulation. Even DOS, even polis tak datang sama you pun you sendiri macam Japanese kan, you sendiri tak nak buat salah, you tak nak buat sampah, it's in your, tapi nak sampai ke tahap tu tak tahulah berapa tahun lagi kan. We have to kan, dan kita kena nurture culture tu. Kita jangan work because of external motivation, because you are being paid, you are being apa, you see inside you kena grow benda tu.
Bila Dr. Mimi sebut being in our blood, I think quality is a product and also byproduct of culture kan. Jadi bila sebut soal Finland tu ada 5 million population tapi laid back, but since they are high productivity, I mean, but then you can compare yourself with Japan, 130 million population maybe. Why are they more productive? And it's not just about business, also about the public sector as well. These are the things which also relates to our issue. I would like to invite semua. We have numerous participants on our Zoom platform. If you would like, ada yang angkat tangan di sini. Sekejap, let me. Siapa yang angkat tangan ni? Linda, you raise your hand. So before, there are 2 questions. Azizan just sharing of thoughts. Akram ada pandangan tentang your own ranking. But I would like to invite Linda dahulu. Linda in the house? Linda ada? Can our admin perhaps maybe unmute and allow her to appear? Linda and Prof. Shad. Okay. Prof. Shad also.
Hello.
Angkat tangan. Yes, Linda. The floor is yours.
Okay. I
Yes,
can't see myself, so you can't see me as well.
Right.
Yeah, so thank you so much for Dr. Mimi's invitation for me to join this very, very wonderful and very lively discussion about ranking of the universities in the world. I come from NUS.
Right.
When I was on the way, I heard one guest is criticizing NUS. About something about the teaching of one faculty members. I really feel not very good. But this is just an individual, I think, individual
experience.
Experience. It doesn't represent the whole university. Because
Okay.
I think my background is I received my bachelor degree in medicine in China. So it's not a famous university. It's very unfamous. Okay. And then I went to Finland to do my master and PhD in nursing. Yeah, so that's why I had similar experience with Dr. Mimi. Yeah, so that was about 15 years ago. So when I received my PhD, so the time has changed. I have seen the time has changed. At that time, people really didn't care about anything. Oh, I didn't even know what is ranking, what was like H index. Even nowadays, some UK university, if you talk about H index to them, they have no idea what do you mean. Yeah,
Okay.
so but then I have realized that in the past decade, all the universities, a majority of the universities are chasing after the ranking. Yeah, so I feel a kind of kidnap of something on our universities, because now I think university leadership start to feel anxious about that the ranking. Because why? Because nowadays because of this internet connection, everybody can search information. What they search, let's say a new faculty member want to join a university, or a new student want to choose a university. How do they go? There's no indicator. The only indicator, the most obvious indicator is ranking.
Right.
Then they will go for look at ranking, or under, for example, a nursing project. Which one is the top nursing school in a university in the world? Then they will base on that and make their choice. I think that's why I think our leadership has no choice. You have to go for that. However, like in AUS, I do find we have a little kind of action towards like to improve our ranking, whatever. However, we do very good quality work. So, but we work double hard. We work so hard, and to, for example, to raise our like publicity of our department, and to improve the publication, like impact factor, a journal with good impact factors. We do do some kind of this kind of change. I can't criticize that. I think this is one good one point why people want why our university leadership want to look at this ranking and care for the ranking. I think they have no choice already. The whole world is looking at ranking. You have no choice. But in my point of view, like leadership, I think we can, based on each individual university's situation, for example, level, and the quality of your the quality of your staff, do some adjustment. No, not necessary to really like press so hard on that until they have to do something wrong.
Right.
So we shouldn't do that. So this is very important.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all what I want to share. Thank you so much. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Linda. She touches a bit about the culture and also about institutional leadership. I think I would like to give an opportunity for our panel to respond later. I would like to give this opportunity to Prof. Shad Salim first, because he has been raising his hand for quite some time. Lenguh nanti tangan tu, Prof. Prof. Shad, kalau ada, silakan Prof. Shad Salim. If you can hear me, Prof. Shad.
I'll unmute myself. Okay. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, very loud and clear.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much to all five of you for your independent and critical thinking. Really, we learned a lot. I just want to share my personal experience. I've been a teacher for more than 45 years, a teacher in law. And I want to confess that this ranking exercise is converting us educators into impersonal factory line supervisors.
There you go.
Higher education today has metamorphosed into something which is not about knowledge, but primarily about utility. Not about learning, but about earning. Now, I'm not against earning or utility, but I think there has to be a balance, and there is no balance today. This ranking criterion ignore what some of us try to do and try to make our students do in terms of social service to society, developing a social conscience and a social perspective, in terms of nation building, in terms of character formation. Now, I think the main problem is this, sir, that the ranking criterion measure the measurable.
Okay.
They measure the identifiable.
Only.
But, Mr. Chairman, some of the greatest attributes of civilization are not quantifiable. And I think that's where this ranking exercise miserably fails. So we need a better balance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Shad. I think what we need to do, maybe if I may advise admin, Prof. Shad's opening remark just now, we can, take it out and put it up as a poster. And being leader of a production line. Thank you very much, Prof. Shad. Now, let's have a look at some of the questions being posed. Azizan, I think much of what is being said by Azizan has already been deliberated by our panelists. I would like to read out Akram Zeki's question. In IUM, we propose new ranking algorithm for universities under ISESCO. Hope to promote our ranking algorithm globally since we have many criteria related to community services and knowledge sharing. My question is how to push for our own principles and standards regardless to all recognitions from others. So silakan, anyone? Saya berikan mungkin pandangan Prof. Denny dahulu, if you would like to share your thoughts with regards to what is being asked by Akram.
Thanks for the questions. I believe this is something very similar to one of the projects that I'm currently involved, is related to MSPO versus RSPO. For those who are in palm oil, then you know what is that about. So I'll give a brief information for those who are not in this area. So we are launching our own standards of MSPO, which is Malaysia Sustainable Palm Oil Certifications. Comparing to the established certification is Co-organise Sustainable RSPO palm oil certifications. So what we did in the first round of at the first stages is really we just come up with something that we can do in Malaysia. So we have done it, and then we make it a mandatory scheme to ensure it uplifting this sustainability index in the country. But I think after the first round, we noticed that whatever we are promoting is something that we can do it. So you won't receive the international recognitions. Therefore, in the second version, which I heavily involved now, is really look at how can we design something which is really able to be recognized internationally. At the same time, we put in some contextualization or local identity with something that we do not because of the ranking, but because we want to do it. I think that's something that we need to look at in. Whether we eventually will get international recognition, I think we will. If we are doing, as I said, if we are doing a good job, you are doing because you want to build the nation development, you are genuinely producing metrics to guide or facilitate the university within the community to work together to achieve the best out of it. I think naturally we'll get the recognition from internationals. I think it's always the case that, as I said just now, the example, the good university or the best university in the world never actually chase after ranking. They are just naturally good at it. Same goes to any ranking metrics. It's just naturally, if we are getting genuine good metrics, good outcome. And as I said, ranking is good in some sense. It actually gives us some direction. Sometimes you need this kind of measurable and unmeasurable directions. I think I hear Prof just now was mentioning the unmeasurable is, yes, this is the most difficult parts in the world. Because anyone can do the measurable things. Because I can okay, Mimi, how many papers you publish? 2, okay, tick the box. How many journal you have? How much money you have? It's all measurable. But then when I ask Mimi, how much impact that you have created from the work that you have done? I don't think anyone, some of the university might come with some metrics, how many people that you engage, how many the flyers that you went into, how many community, how many villages that you talk to, but it's still trying to quantify it because they want to see the quantifiable, because then I can compare Mimi with Danny side by side. But impact is not something quantifiable. This is something we have to always remember. Impact is not quantifiable. Sometimes impact is only come after 5-10 years. Your paper you publish today, you do a work, it's actually a work that is for future, not for today. This is also some mentality that we have to change about a lot of industry, a lot of funding agents that we need to look into. Why we need to spend money on fundamental research is because we want to invest for our future, but not now. If everything they invest now, then where's our future? So I think this is something that we really need to look into, on more futuristic thinking of where we are, where we want to go. And you can see a lot of paper which is maybe the top winner of the world, they're actually doing things beyond their era. It's not within their own era, not even the 10 years era. It's something that they have done maybe only be applicable in 20 years, 50 years down the road. If we decided only focus on what we have today and what we are doing today, we miss our opportunity for the future. And that's also linked into the ethical issue. I think this is also, there are a lot of issues when ranking come into, then tie into your KPI. I think there are a lot of issues like the junior stuff. I actually, sometimes say, Danny, you are established, so you are affordable, give away all your paper to anyone, you don't care. But if I were the fresh graduate, I have a lot of different challenges that you do. Your time is fast. I start to be in the mid-gen already. So I think that's understandable. So how can we support the young one? I think this is something we need to start thinking about. Why the unethical issue has been raising recently in Malaysia, we was listed one of the highest predicted journals. I think when you look at all this news, I think it's not a good sign for our education, our academia in the country, especially the younger generation. Some of them are really genuinely do good research, but they are also labeled as those categories. I think those are a lot of things that we have to work together. We need to create a healthy ecosystem and culture. I think this is something we need to do as not only a university, but as a community. We, as a together, regardless of you are UM or UPM or whatever, we should work together to create this culture and inherit this is the best practice for ourselves. And we should work together, support each other to grow together. I think that is something that we should look into.
Dr. Mimi, I can see that you're raising your hand. Yes, please.
Yes, maybe I add a little bit to what Dennis has said just now, like to the question that our friend asked in the chat box, how to, especially this is a dilemma or a question for the young staff, young academic researcher. Macam kita lain, kita dah tua kan, we have our own, I just don't care.
Banyak
kan,
kali doktor sebut dah tua ni, jangan. Banyak kali sebut dah tua, jangan sebut dah tua.
Yalah, tapi kalau budak yang baru masuk, kesian lah, dia macam dia tak berani untuk jadi kita fikir, tapi at the same time kita faham, you tak boleh terlampau stubborn yang you ignore this, ignore that. No, because you work with somebody, you have things to comply kan, benda yang kena fulfill betul tapi at the same time saya fikir the quality, sebab itu kalau to the new academic member kalau kita boleh bagi advice sikit, kalau you are still studying especially, you kena betul-betul buat, hasilkan a very high quality work masa you buat doctoral study ataupun masters. Benda tu akan bring you indescribable punya confidence inside yourself. You tahu no matter how banyak orang kutuk you punya research, kata ini bring you nowhere, ini bila you balik Malaysia tak applicable kan, ini macam mengarut lah apalah kan. Macam saya kena a lot because I did a new tool yang untuk predict emission from industry. Bila I balik dia kata sebab dekat Asian pun belum ada regulation yang suruh measure this kind of emission, kita panggil fugitive emission, Danny knows right, yang kita hanya measure kat sini stack emission. So bila I balik dia kata you buat ni buat apa, regulation pun tak ada, sebab dekat sini, dekat Asia ni, kalau tak ada regulation, tak ada rules, mereka tak akan buat voluntarily. So benda ni memang orang strictly buat dekat EU dengan US, sebab dengan Japan, sebab dekat sana benda tu masuk dalam regulation, something yang you kena monitor. Tapi kalau I nak tinggal tu, 10 years ago I dah tinggal. Sebab bila kita dengar orang cakap, kita lost confidence kan. Tapi I fikir no, I won't. Tapi Alhamdulillah, because I feel confident, I keep on publishing in that. So sekarang macam bila you search pasal benda tu, mesti nama I keluar lah, bukanlah sebab orang lain tak buat benda tu. And recently Petronas, Shell, kita panggil Lotte, Titan, lepas tu Thailand, semua dia dah go into that, dia dah nampak kepentingan, sebab kita mungkin lambat sikit kan nak sedar benda tu penting. So sekarang bila because you didn't, you have confidence in yourself, you tak tinggal bidang you tu walaupun orang kritik you, so now you are into the game lah. Macam Danny kata, maybe what you did the last 10 years, hari ni baru applicable kan. what he said is true. Kalau I putus asa last 10 years, betul lah, lebih baik I buat apa yang sama-sama orang buat, the more the merrier kan. I go along dengan orang lain, I pun tak ke mana kan, betul tak? Sebab you kena be confident in what you do and you believe that apa yang you buat, tapi provided apa yang you buat masa you punya study tu memang high quality lah, baru you boleh bring it way forward lah, macam tu lah.
Dr. Mimi tadi sebut, dia kata cuma negara kita yang lambat sikit sedar. Saya tertanya tadi, kenapa ya kita terlambat sikit sedar? But in answering that question will deviate our discussion today lah. Dia akan jadi isu yang lain pula itu. Dr. Chanda sudah turun tangan. Tadi Dr. Chanda angkat tangan. Yeah. Doctor, would you like to see? Yeah, you were raising your hand just now, Dr. Chanda.
Okay, no, I thought we were. I've already catch your attention, so that's why I put it down.
Yeah.
Lengur nak ambil lama.
Lengur nak tangan lama-lama.
I think what is really what we are talking about, the more we go into the technicality of ranking and all this, is a no ends discussion, because we are only talking about a symptom. We are not talking about the root problem that is facing us today. And I wish to go back to the work of the late Professor Syed Hussein Alatas,
right,
in arguing that we are still in a captive mindset. We are still being colonized, right? And it's sad, you see, because if kalau university and all the academics, the university is supposed to be the most educated bunch of people in our society. And today, the university cannot go and tell other people what is the impact that the university has for our society. And we have to rely on other people out there to give us a number to tell us. Isn't that a very sad situation? Going back to Pak Ungku's contribution to our nation, right? He looks at the issue of poverty eradication. He looks into the issue of orang pergi haji lepas tu balik no money. Semua jual semua barang, pergi haji, balik nothing. So his work, his proposal to set up tabung haji, right? Can we put a number to say that this is an impact on that contribution of tabung haji to the Malaysian society today?
Right.
If we try to put that as a number, it's almost impossible. But today, academics, it has to rely on this other impact factor. By us giving a number to show that how impactful we are. And I thank you, Professor Danny, for bringing up the point about the UK. The UK doesn't measure impact factor to begin with, right? Because they have that sense. In fact, the study behind why the UK did not take a measurable approach was actually done by a very independent study to look at the use of indicators in the entire ecosystem of research assessment in the UK. The report is actually online. It's called the Metrics Type. And in there, they explicitly mention how dubious the measurements are in terms of impact factors and so on and so forth, H index and all this. And they have resisted, first of all, to put a number, and second of all is to continue to rely on what the academic tradition of a university. Let's not forget, university is not there just for the last 10 or 20 years. It has existed for centuries. How have universities actually looked into articulating its excellence and quality of work? And we seem to have forgotten, and then now we seem to have all rely on ranking and all this measurable. And we forgot the intangibles. And have we lost that confidence to even argue ourselves? And if we have lost that confidence, then it more got to show that we are being colonized.
Yeah, Dr. Gary, I would like to read out 3 comments on our chat box, and I would like you to reflect on these 3, one after another. I mean, I'll read out all the 3. Yasir Mustafa, dia kata, saying that our university leaders have no choice just prove that we being colonized. We keep on repeating the idea of new colonization via education. Saying that Malaysian academics need the ranking KPI so that we can be more productive also means the same. while Tan Sri Zul himself mentioned our leader has a choice if he or she is a leader. But then I think we also have to divide the understanding of leadership at the national level and also at the institutional level. Because I think if we have quality leaders at the institutional level, perhaps he himself can bring that particular institution beyond what is being required by the KPI. And thirdly, Adlina, ranking indirectly leads to a sense of competitiveness among the higher learning institutions in Malaysia. This is sad, as all of us should be working together collaboratively. I think this is what has been raised by Prof. Denny numerous times in our 1 hour also session. So Dr. Gary, your reflection on these 3 comments.
Okay, before I answer this, right, a few weeks ago, I received an email from one of the very renowned publisher from UK. So this publisher, they are very interested to know more about this thing called real impact research, because there are some publishers that are moving towards this direction, and they wanted to know from Malaysia viewpoint, are our universities ready to go for this thing called real impact research? Means research that has contribution to the community, not just purely impact factor and so on. So I reflected this email deeply, and I asked myself this, are we ready to move away from all this impact factor research? Because almost every part of our KPI, I think for most of us in the universities, are actually linked with publication. You want to apply for promotion, they will say that, oh, you need, 10 SSCI paper, for example, 15. You want to apply for grant, and they translate that to how many outputs of, Scopus papers or even clarified analytics papers that you have to produce in a year. So the key question here is this, are we really ready to move away from this? But the issue here is that even though we may not exactly agree that this kind of ranking, will really bring contributions to a specific country, but until we have an alternative, okay, what choice do we have? Even you talk about, let's not talk about world ranking, okay, let's not talk about Shanghai Jiao Dong ranking, let's not talk about QS ranking, let's not talk about THE ranking, let's talk about Malaysian ranking. Even our own Malaysia, we have our own ranking, MyRA ranking, for example. And if you look at their indicators, how many of these indicators are actually linked with publication? Even our own government are not, not prepared to show the path, for universities to follow. If our ranking in Malaysia, MyRA ranking, is also linked to publication, what choice do we have? So to me, it's very simple. We want to move away from this style of ranking, but until we really have an alternative, we really got to sit down, and really consider how are you going to measure, like what one of the participants asked earlier, how do we want to measure this unmeasurable thing? Until we are able to quantify this, it's really going to be very difficult for the university's leadership to do away with this.
It seems like we're now pointing towards the ministry itself. Or else, interestingly, Akram echoed what you have been saying, Dr. Gary. His follow-up question is how to convince the MyRA people about what we're saying. Chanda, silakan, Chanda.
I totally in agreement to what Dr. Gary has said, right? It's not only the ranking. The MyRA is playing a role to play the ranking game. In a big time, I would say.
How to make MyRA people listen to us? That was the question by Akram.
I wish they do. But I think to add on to what Dr. Gary has said, I think the bigger question we should be asking ourselves is, why do we even need to measure? I think the why is much more important than the how. We can come up with different ways of ranking, different rankings, but we don't change the fundamental question. Why do we need to measure? And has measuring be part of the academic tradition? Nobel laureates, are they selected, or did they won the Nobel Prize because of numbers of in whatever, or is it because of how good that idea is? Like Professor Yunus microcredit Grameen Bank concept did not yield any paper, but the impact is a real impact that nobody can deny it. Right. But where have we lost, and why do we have to constantly been dictated by that question. I think that is the question that the why, I think, is crucial.
Yeah, Dr. Mimi, it will be helpful if the ministry itself has the willpower, to institutionalize a kind of ranking, even to, I'm sure they can lend down some power and dictate MIRA in a way that will promote real quality without being obliged by whatever is being decided by the existing ranking system. But we are moving, it is still an uphill battle because, every now and then I've been listening. There are also some academics, especially in the technical area, where Dr. Gary is highly specialized, apart maybe even Prof. Denny, they feel like having this kind of measurement really helps because, yes, of course, we need a minimum measurement standard so that we'll know which university is better than the other. But how, I think Akram's question just now about coming up with our own ranking, we also already have MIRA, and now we are criticizing that actually MIRA is also not helping in promoting a kind of knowledge culture pertinent in upgrading our quality. So I don't know, maybe, well, I don't know. I've been discussing about this topic since, I would say, time immemorial, but since the last 10 years with it. And at the end of the, we are coming to our very few last minutes of our forum. I think we've been talking about the same thing. Nothing really changes in the last 10 years. Dr. Mimi.
Okay, terima kasih to Mr. Syed. Okay, so basically macam I bukan level yang boleh comment such a high level punya thing ni, tapi if I can share a bit lah, macam I discuss a lot dengan Chanda sebelum forum ni lagi. Maybe Chanda ada sebut ke belum yang what we call as political pact, kan, Chanda kan? So macam in Finland, I tak boleh komen pasal banyak benda yang I tak tahu. I boleh komen yang I tahu je.
Political pact, Dr. Mimi, political pact kan?
Dekat Finland kita panggil political pact. Maksudnya bukan yang Finland ni lahir negara dia dah hebat. Dulu dia was in the dark area. Dia panggil in the dark era. Dia punya education pun masa tu was at the slum condition, macam teruk betul masa tu. Jadi masa tu lah society bisingkan macam mana negara dia dalam miskin, tak ada resources, what they can do kan, sebab dia sangat value human capital ni. So masa tu lah dia start to revamp everything within their own. Sebab itu bila Mr. Syed kata apa negara kita boleh buat, saya suka soalan tu. Maknanya dia tak ada sibuk-sibuk pergi tanya Cambridge ke, pergi tanya masa tu kan MIT ke, Stanford ke, dia buat within their own small country tu. And look at them now, dia boleh leap to the top of the world kan, dengan dia punya own brain and own mind tu. Maknanya kalau kita fokus pun, kita Malaysia boleh do the same. Cuma masa tu dia punya political pact yang dia orang started 40 years back, dia pun, tapi ini saya tak cakap pasal politik lah, I'm not good in that. Cuma dia punya pact tu, dia punya pakatan tu mengatakan bahawa dia ada clause dalam perlembagaan yang universiti ni mesti 100% totally autonomous. So meaning tak boleh any government punya power, ministry ke apa, tak boleh masuk campur lah dalam pelantikan, whatever yang tak komen lah yang itu kan. Tapi maknanya benda tu memberikan satu recognition yang luar biasa lah kepada universiti. You know better who's the best in your university kan, yang apa-apa yang the best in different aspect, yang boleh jaga, boleh nurture, boleh grow up you punya staff and so on lah. Tapi and macam tadi pun saya tergantung sikit masa saya cakap, saya berbual dengan Professor Karimi, a very famous professor in chemical engineering from NUS. Masa tu kita talk about, masa tu sibuk-sibuk nak angkat jugalah, kita tanya dia apa metrik yang you pakai dekat NUS for promotion. Dia kata paper ni memanglah, dia kata, tapi dia kata benda tu not anymore an indicator. Dia kata selagi you ni academic researcher, benda tu kita panggil a given, you kena buat lah, betul lah, logik, tak payah nak measure lagi. Benda tu kalau selagi you hidup as academic, you work in university, benda tu something yang expected. So buat apa nak measure benda yang orang kata expected. So what they look into yang sangat significant when they want to give a new, nak promote, macam nak naik pangkat for the staff, they look into, dia panggil world recognition. Again, macam tadi, it comes back to impact. Kalau people in the world, in your area knows you are somewhere that you should be promoted lah, macam tu lah maknanya. Sebab kalau people satu dunia macam Einstein lah tadi Chanda cakap kan, satu dunia dah kenal, takkan you tak boleh recognize lagi orang macam ni kan. Tapi maybe paper dia tak ada paper pun kot Einstein, kita tak tahu. So kalau dia masuk MIRA kan, dia pun tak maybe junior professor je kan. Jadi kita tak boleh macam tu. Tapi it comes back to macam tadi kita katalah, macam mana pun sebab sekarang saya dah faham dah, saya dah mature ni, saya tak guna perkataan tua, saya tukar.
Jangan.
Saya dah faham dah when I analyse back, kita mungkin culture kita tak sama lah. Kat sana dia etik dia number one kan. Dia kan transparency index in the world number one kan, Finland tu. Cuma sekarang dia drop sikit lepas banyak foreigner masuk, dia punya ranking jatuh because of the foreigner masuk ke negara dia kan. Kita tak berapa integrity sangat. Tapi tak sama lah. Kalau kita nak measure, payahlah. Kita tak boleh compare sebab culture kita lain. Tapi at the same time, I can say that benda ni kita boleh, macam dulu kita tak pandai pakai mask, kita tak pandai cuci tangan apa kan, tak pandai social distancing. Sekarang pandai. Jadi tapi maknanya kita tak boleh lost hope. Kalau kita boleh nurture benda ni dan kita kena pastikan yang kita jangan pegang pada satu tu terlampau. Itulah indikator. You tak boleh macam tu. You boleh rosakkan you punya institute kan. Padahal
Doktor, kita banyak kritik culture, tetapi saya juga yakin bahawa culture itu tidak tumbuh di dalam lakuna. Dia tumbuh di dalam surrounding kan. Jadi maksudnya saya ingin juga meletakkan pemberat yang besar kepada kementerian dan pemimpin di dalam kementerian itu, because you are in the position of power. Kalau kita realise, dan benda ini saya dah 10 tahun dengan hujah, hari ini saya berhujah lagi dan dengan hujah yang sama, 10 tahun kita tak graduate, tak habis-habis PhD lepas 10 tahun.
Sebab itu Mr. Sai, I have to say after this 4:30, the four of us kita dah pension dah, kita dah alhamdulillah tamatlah azab kami. But you have another series. Lepas ni you kena panggil orang ministry, you kena panggil orang Myra. That's your job.
Adelina, bukan job saya, job UAE. Saya host saja. Yang memanggil ada UAE. Adelina Arifin dia ada sebut di sini. Dia kata kena panggil orang Myra ni. Tapi itulah dalam pengalaman saya, orang yang berada di posisi ini untuk berdebat tentang dasar ni susah sikit.
You can be the host.
Kerana culture-nya tidak, contestation of ideas is not being welcomed here under in Malaysia. Saya boleh sebut tu di sini. Saya nak bawa satu soalan. Ma'an Al-Khatib ini I would like to give this question to Prof Danny sebab menarik juga yang ditanyakan. Thank you for the panel. Ma'an tanya, dia kata, what is the alternative to ranking to promote universities, for example universities in Malaysia, to international potential students? Kalau kita tak guna ranking, jadi macam mana, Prof Danny?
So, to be open as well, Harvard doesn't has a very strong ranking. I mean, UM might be higher than Harvard in the worldwide. But what is really differentiators as my university, or how do we attract international students, is really the quality of the work that you do. It's not about ranking. That's why when a lot of my education consultants ask me, Danny, how do we sell our program? I said, you don't need to really sell your program. It's just telling what we do. What we have done is a good work, student will come. What we have proven, our quality of students when they graduate, go to the market, you get recognitions from the industry about our graduates, the student will come. It's word of mouth. It's not about ranking. Yes, there might be a lot of questioning. I think this ranking is higher, so they might be better. Like I said, ranking is a perception. If you know how ranking works, there is some university actually hire a unit to just focusing how do you strategize to increase ranking for the university. But is that the real things that you want to do? Is that the changing culture moment? If that's the right things, that's the right culture, do it. If that promote a good culture within the university, within promote collaborations, everyone can do collaborations cross campus, cross university to do works together and then produce good quality work. Naturally, as I say, if you're doing a good job, automatically you get recognized or rankings go up. But unfortunately, I think when we first started the forum, unfortunately, all these strategic group are very looking at the metrics. They're only looking at the numbers. They're just strategizing how do we increase the number. Based on the number, we will just get into the better ranking. But like I said, will that bring into the value to the students? Is that going to bring value to the society? I think Chanda has mentioned very clearly in the few rounds, has mentioned that are we able to tell the society, yes, I'm raised from top 100 now, but am I doing something for you, or I just contributing the impact factor? I got so many journal articles in the world, but I do nothing for Malaysia. I do nothing for my people who are living in the rural area. people need help, we didn't go to help them. We didn't actually create a safety net for them. Now we are actually everyone on COVID-19, so red flag, white flags, red plans. What is this? Is there something that we have created enough to support our society? If that is something that you are doing, even with or without publication, I think you get acknowledgement, you get impact to the society. I think that will generally bring the people who send their kids to your university. Can you imagine a group, or let's say villagers that work with one university has been providing support, has been providing all the impact, uplifting their livelihood in that society? I'm sure this society will send the kids to their university. That's why you see a lot of overseas country, they never send their kids overseas because they know we are having the best of we know what we need. We develop our education curriculums to design the needs of the society. If that is something, the mentality, and that's something that we want to go for future, we will be famous for something. We have all the natural resources. We have strength on ourselves. For example, our East Coast, they have a lot of knowledge about fisheries. Do we actually put in a lot of effort to grow them, become a famous internationals of fisheries? We have a lot of famous area for historical area, something geology, something that we can promote on. Is there something that we do? But what happened at the moment as the country? I can see we are chasing ranking, everyone moving into a very steep or a very close, narrow area. Nano, and everyone go nano, healthcare, everyone go healthcare, because that is something publishable, something attract a lot of attention. But we lost all
that is where the grant is.
Yes, unfortunately, I would say this is also come back to a lot of policies. I think Dan Chan has mentioned a lot. Policy. Is our policy supporting our development? Is our policy giving the right grant to develop ourselves? I think that there are a lot of discussion, but I think there are a lot of work has been done at the background, which I can see. I involve myself a little bit here and there, and I also see there are a lot of new development which is supported for the growth. But again, I think the leaders has to really, sometimes you need to play a very hard role on your own to pat on the shoulder and just go against the wave. Sometimes we just have to work together. You are not alone. You shouldn't think you are alone. you are alone. USM or whatever, you are alone. We are not alone. We are actually one country. All of us shouldn't go competing each other. I think I have seen the comments. It creates competitiveness. To me, it shouldn't. We should work together to do the things that we can. Right, Mimi, over to you.
Sikit je from Danny tadi, macam betul lah benda ni, it comes back to policy. Kalau kita yang ni mengaku muda pula, kalau kita yang muda-muda ni bersemangat macam mana pun, tapi kalau the policy does not support us, tak boleh. Sebab like for example, if I can give you specific example on the grant money, macam I bukan nak compare lah, sebab I boleh cakap experience yang I went through je kan. Masa kita dekat Finland, kalau kita dapat duit daripada grant money ataupun apalah research contract ke apa, kita dapat sedebu. Tapi kita boleh guna, kalau awak adalah researcher yang penjimat, macam saya dengan Danny, sangat kedekut dengan duit research kita kan, kita jimat, you boleh pakai forever, tapi next year ada opening baru, kita boleh apply lagi, kita apply, sebab you tahu apa you nak guna dengan duit tu kan, you sometimes you need it, maybe the next berapa tahun ke, you tak boleh habiskan sekarang. Tapi macam kita, you tahu kan, four of you tahu kan, you ada kita punya grant money kan, you kena habiskan dalam masa 2 tahun. Kalau tidak, you tak boleh dapat. Kalau tidak, you dianggap tidak achieve performance. Walaupun you dah publish banyak, tapi kerana duit you tak pakai, dia anggap you underperform. Itu researcher terpaksa membazir duit tu because of you nak achieve. Sebab itu saya fikir, kenapa kita ni negara Islam kan, kita Islamic country, kita sepatutnya lebih menjaga resource, kita tak boleh membazir, buang duit. Sebab itu ada researcher yang terpaksa beli je apa-apa just to spend the money. I found this as ridiculous tau. Tapi kita tak buat tu, kita kena blacklist. You faham tak? So it come back to policy. Cuba policy tu buat macam yang Finland tu. You ada duit, you simpan, you jimat, you pandai. Nanti ada buka baru, kita bagi you apply lagi for new student kan. Duit tu kita boleh guna banyak, networking, semua collaboration dengan universiti lain. Tapi sometimes kita tak boleh habis dalam 6 bulan yang terakhir tu katakan. Tapi see?
I think Dr. Changda, you quoted Prof. Syed Hussein when you were mentioning about the captive mind. And I think this captive mind manifests not only in the academic world, but also in overall spectrum of our livelihood. Even in economy, we've been debating why is it that one of the unicorn company get the funding and full support from down south instead. We've been debating about this because of the structure. We are so rigid. So I think we are being as such because of the mentality. Every now and then the word mentality keep on propping up because of the mentality. So long as we think like we need to follow certain guidelines given out to us from the higher authority. So this is being colonized, is what you're saying. Azizan ada soalan sini, saya baca semula. Azizan ni rajin, tadi saya tak baca soalan dia. Dia sebut di sini. Who advised the KPT? It is still the academics. So the mainstream academics are those who were handed by the high index, I know, and citation. So they would not change since they benefit. Tapi itulah, kita ambil hope lah kan, hope. I mean, tadi Dr. Mimi mentioned about the political pact. I do not know whether all the 4 panelists today ni ada pact dia tersendiri lah. Tapi nampak dia punya wavelength tu sama.
Dan kalau saya boleh tambah, dekat Finland yang menentukan nak decision university tu dia panggil constitution. Dalam constitution tu ada industri punya orang. Banyak jadi benda tu decision of university tu macam-macam kepala yang bagi decision. So you tak boleh short sendiri. I think benda tu mungkin something yang kita boleh look into one day.
I keep on challenging myself even when I was assigned for this topic. Saya kata adakah saya akan menemui satu idea baru daripada banyak siri-siri yang seumpamanya, dan I have to admit kebanyakannya telah saya dengar, cuma anekdot dan sinopsisnya itu mungkin dari perspektif yang agak berbeza, menarik, masih ada value. Tetapi moving forward, and we truly understand the limitations of what we can do. And we know culture with this captive mentality that we're having as a nation. I think we are at the juncture currently, politically especially. Somehow we're very much feudalistic in nature. Whatever comes from above will normally, get trickles down easily, and it's very hard for us to do something which is bottom up in nature. And we understand, and I think the biggest challenge today is because of this new normal thing I mentioned in my opening. Things are changing, and we need very strong leadership because this is an uphill battle. It seems like as a country we are lagging behind in so many ways when it comes to normalcy. I think last week's normalcy index published by the economists, we are at the bottom. We are truly at the bottom. We are number 50 among 50 countries. So when it comes to capability of coming back to normal, bouncing back, we are truly at the bottom. But I think there is also no culture of contestation of ideas. There is huge gag order coming from wherever, impeding all the good minds. I said all these high-flying academics like yourself, all my fellow panelists today. So your voice are not being heard. And I think this is the responsibility of our academics. You need to voice out and get the ideas across. So I would like to give 2 minutes each as a parting remark from each and every one of you. Where should we be heading? Because we've been toiling with these ideas since the last 10 years and there is no breakthrough as yet. So if I may begin with Dr. Mimi dulu lah. Kita nak mula di mana ni? Sebab kita, nanti kalau kita buat tajuk yang sama kan, ini jugalah yang kita akan sebut.
Okay, betul sangat, betul.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, ya Allah. Okay, so basically I kata it's time for us to take action. Kalau kita tengok blueprint pendidikan untuk pendidikan sekolah di Malaysia, kita produce the best blueprint in the world. South Korea, Bhutan, semua yang ikut semua dah jauh pergi ke mana kerana ikut blueprint Malaysia. Tapi kita punya blueprint tinggal sebagai blueprint, sadly. Kita tak take action. You tahu tak? Maknanya orang yang buat dan ikut blueprint tu, they implement, they are flourish now. Sebab blueprint kita powerful. Tapi kita kita Malaysia terkenal dengan kita buat, kita tulis, kita dokumen, tapi kita tak take action. So sama dengan kes kita ni, macam kalau kita ada satu session lain, we make it happen. Kalau betul-betul nak buat perbincangan round table, strategic planning, apa-apa pergi visit negara ni, negara sana, tengok contoh, please do some action kan. No more on paper. That's my 2 minute punya parting remark lah. Dan I'm not against ranking. I really love, I think ranking okay. Kalau tak, sebab ada juga staff yang terlampau tidur dan terlampau mandom kalau tak ada ranking. Sebenarnya for IPTA ini masalahnya bagi staff yang langsung tak buat apa kalau tak ada ranking. I faham. Tapi Tapi tak boleh revolve around that lah. Dia passion tu. Kita nak kena carry
Dr. Mimi, kita mungkin boleh sebut ranking ni is nice to have lah.
Nice to have, but bukan
bukan compulsory lah.
Bukan
if
wajib
you're good, then you're good.
Bukan sampai execute lah kalau you tak buat.
Dan at maybe at postgraduate level, then it helps. Where you really did research.
You boleh measure you punya quality.
Dr. Gary, parting remarks for yourself.
Okay, sorry. My idea is this. I may not 100% agree with university ranking, but I definitely have to put this from a point view of a private university. We need this ranking in order to attract international students.
Okay.
And if we do not have this ranking, it is very hard for us to differentiate ourselves with another universities, even in Malaysia or maybe in Indonesia or in Thailand and so on. So like it or not, okay, from a viewpoint of private universities, we need international students. We need their money, okay, to sustain, our operation and so on. And without ranking, it's going to be very difficult for us to champion and to say that, we are better than another person, because many a times, right, we have to understand that a lot of the ordinary folks, they do not know how to differentiate. You tell them that your university is so good between this and that, but they don't understand. But you tell them, you give them a list and say, my university is ranked this number, and this number is better than this number, they will understand this. So like it or don't like it, to me, this is something that we really need to think about until we can find a solution, okay, to have this other ranking, then yes, we can do this away. But my suggestion maybe for Malaysia government, if we are serious to go for all this real impacting, maybe we can introduce some of this element in Myra ranking. We don't need to be 100% related to research. So that's it.
This reminds me that one of the pressing topic that perhaps if the admin is considering, maybe the topics of the economics of the higher education. I mean, with this the new reality with COVID and whatnot, it's the question of sustainability is really important for us to understand. Prof. Denny, your parting remarks, please.
All right. Thanks for the questions and thanks for the session. I really enjoyed the session today. So there are so many things that I have been not able to voice out. I personally has been involved as young scientist under the Academic Young Malaysia. So YSM, we call it Young Scientists. That's where Mimi as one of us as that as well. So because I took on a role as a chair of policy, science policy and governance for 2 terms. And I have given opportunity to work with a lot of great minds, those senior fellows and fellows in the academy. I can see there are a lot of work that has been done. Really, like Mimi said, we have do a good job in planning. Unfortunately, the execution part is difficult, which eventually the action has not been taken on. If we can just purely based on all the policies, all the things that we have done is fantastic. It will gear towards the right direction, create the right ecosystem. The ranking will follow. I mean, as I say, I don't against ranking. I don't say ranking is bad, so we just abandon it, not that manner. But really, we say ranking is an output. If we design ourselves in the correct manner, you will get the ranking. It's just like when your body is healthy, you will looks beautiful. It's not putting all the makeup in front of you at the end and at the inside is all very spoiled organs.
That's a very good analogy.
Yes. So that's why I said go back to fundamental root cause, build the right culture from the beginning. Use ranking as the maybe some targets, some goals, something that we want to look for. For example, they say about collaboration. Let's look at it. Look at genuine collaboration, something that we can work together. Look at a good paper. Is that something that we can spend amount of time to create a good paper? Then eventually publish it together. Not saying that, because I need a KPI, Mimi, let's put my name, everyone put everyone's name, then go inside. Then we get the KPI. But then end of the day, it doesn't values. I think go back into the fundamentals. As I said, goals, ranking is good. I don't against ranking. We don't want to ignore, like say, if we just speak ignorance, then we go back into a jago kampung again lah. So we are the best in Malaysia. Then who are you going to compete with? Philippines and Indonesia, Thailand? You don't care. I don't care because I'm the best in Malaysia. That's not the way. But we have to be international recognized. So those are our output. But build the fundamentals right. Get our organ healthy. Eat more vitamin. Give us a healthy environment. Because I think COVID-19 is very important. We need healthy people, healthy society. Then we can grow. All this is just naturally will become beautiful when you do the right things at the fundamental.
Right. Prof. Danny, twice you raised the analogy of jago kampung. You must be athletic yourself.
Yes.
Sebab tu dia kata sihat semua anggota badan.
Yes, that's what I was built for. I think when I was young, I always said this is part of my mind, back of my mind, jago kampung, and then how do we move ourselves from jago kampung to juara dunia? I think we have achieved that. I mean, Dato' Lee Chung Wei is one of them, good example.
Exactly.
How can he move from jago kampung? Oh, people don't care about Malaysians. But become the world champion. All this work for consistently for that. I think that is the way that we should look at. If we want to get our ranking good, fine. Do the good thing, put effort into it, get the fundamental right, and go into the international arena and fight for all the battles, and we will be the jago. I think that's something that we should work together.
But by the way, Prof. Danny, this epidemic of captive mind that we're talking about, it already creeps not only in the spectrum of economy and education, but also sports. So I stop at that. We need another hour to discuss about that. Dr. Chanda, silakan.
Thank you. I think it was very exciting discussion we had on this. I think this pandemic is actually a good time, a break for us to rethink, going back to normalcy. And I would go back to still the analogy. If we are now being colonized, going back to 1957 and 1963, after when we have gained our independence, the university at that point were grappling with what is its role now in this new nation. If we can put ourselves back into that and start thinking of what the role of university and academics should be in rebuilding the society for the future, then the point is we need to first recognize we are being captive. We're still being colonized in our mindset. And what is colonizing us is not the ranking, but it's the neoliberal ideas, or the measurables, the KPIs, and the performance, the driven system, the competitiveness, and the other very dangerous term that is driving us all crazy is accountability, right? And many of these ideas is in contradict to what the university is all about. It's all about. And I will just end with this quote by an African philosopher who is currently the Chancellor of University of Uganda. He says this is back in the days of when many of the African nations just got its independence. He says this about the university: in our single-minded pursuit to create centers of learning and research of international standing, we had nurtured researchers and educators who had little capacity to work in our surrounding communities, but who could move to any institution in the industrial countries and serve any privileged community around the globe with comparative ease. So let's not make the mistake of continuously being dictated by other people. And I think Malaysian academics and Malaysian universities needs to first of all stop double thinking. We cannot on the one side believe that ranking is not good, but we continue to go around and singing praises about the ranking and use it to promote our institution. We need to be very clear on where is our stand, and be very clear on what we are, and then to think forward. What is the role of the university to the Malaysian society, and how can we use our knowledge to first and foremost solve the problems and to benefit our society, not to address the needs of other people out there who is telling us what to do. And I think that is very critical, very important.
All right. Yeah, Dr. Mimi and gentlemen, I said earlier that it's very insightful discussion, and I think the deliberations given, despite the fact I mentioned I'm looking for fresh new idea, nevertheless, I would consider this session as if we have reached a point of fatigue, but then we get a whole of few bottles of Red Bull and suddenly we become rejuvenated again, you know, and it's a very important discussion indeed. Dr. Mimi pun sebut ada political pact. I don't quite understand what that means and how it's going to manifest, but I don't know if all the four of you are consistently talking about this. I think IIUM under the purview of Dr. Zainal can always provide the avenue. And I'm sure in time to come, I was told this is going to be a series of discussion. So just stay put. Maybe you get the IOM. I'm sure they'll get in touch with you again. Seems like, as I mentioned earlier, I was told that all these are because Tan Sri Zul have been mentioning that sebab itu agaknya Dr. Mimi sebut orang tua tu sebab Tan Sri Zul dia dah sebut dah daripada awal. Dia kata biarlah, janganlah orang tua bercakap, biarlah orang muda pula. Ini all these four brilliant young Malaysians, very nationalistic, you know, which is very evident in our discussion just now. So on behalf of the admin, the organizer, I would like to thank. I can see that Dr. Zainal is ready to say something, but are we going to close down our session on YouTube first? I would like to thank all our viewers, especially those who are not in the forum, not in the Zoom platform, but watching us over YouTube. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you again to all our fellow panelists, Dr. Changda, Prof. Danny, Dr. Gary, and Dr. Mimi. So I see you next time, inshallah. God willing, inshallah. Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone.
Thank you very much to the host also.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We have hope. Tan Sri kata, dia happy tu.
Lovely.
So,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Syed. Thank you, Chanda.
Okay,
thank you, Danny. Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
Kita dah off daripada YouTube kan?
I don't know. Ya kot?
I guess
yeah,
so. Baris, dah kot.
Okay.
Dah